His arm was wrapped around me so that I couldn't move. With one hand wrapped around my mouth, he started touching me. I tried to get him to stop, but I was in too much shock. Then he reached down to my lower half and I dug my nails deep down into his arm. "Get off me!" I yelled. He pushed me down to the floor with his hand bleeding from my nail marks. At first, it looked like he was about to hurt me, or worse, take further advantage of me. Instead, he started laughing and walked out of the room. I was 15, and I had just moved states and was the new kid at school. I loved everything about my new school and my new friends, but because my family didn't have a lot of money, I couldn't afford to go anywhere or hang out with them. So I made a resume and handed it to a few different stores hoping to get a part-time job. But not a single place hired me, and I began losing hope, until I walked into my local fish and chip shop. There was a man at the counter who smiled and asked what I would like to order. Instead, I asked if they were hiring. He never gave me a yes or any answer, but asked me to give him my resume and said he would contact me within a few days. The following Tuesday after school, a man named Peter called and introduced himself to me as the owner of the shop and said that I was hired. I was so excited and thankful for the chance, and I rushed over remembering everything he was teaching me. For the next month, I started to get called in more often, and I was getting really good at my job. But then, things got weird. If I made a mistake, Peter would slap my butt and yell at me saying, "This is what happens when you mess up, so stop making mistakes." I didn't think anything of it because I had never had a job before and thought that this was normal. But it got to the point where every time I made a mistake, he would tally it up and slap me. One day, he waited until there was no one around and cornered me to slap my butt. I was so scared and couldn't even look at him in the eyes. I didn't want to lose my job, so I stayed quiet, telling myself this was a one-time thing. When I got home, I tried to wash his stench off me, feeling dirty, stupid, and useless. A few months passed, and the slapping became less frequent, but I was still scarred from it all. I spoke less in class, was always scared to make any mistakes, and if anyone touched me, even my arm, I'd instantly pull away. No one understood what was happening to me, and I didn't know who to talk to or what to say. I just kept questioning, was this my fault? I started to really hate myself and my life. I couldn't afford to lose this job. What would people think of me if I got fired? If they knew what was happening, would they blame me and get angry for not saying something sooner? One day at work, I was washing the dishes, and Peter came up behind me and wrapped his arms around me tightly, not letting me move. I could feel his breath on my neck as I closed my eyes, not wanting to even see what he might do to me. Instead of slapping me, he started to tickle me. "What are you doing?" I said in shock. He put his hands on me and squeezed them so hard I cried out, "Ouch, please stop! You are making me uncomfortable." I pushed him off and ran out of the room. After that night, Peter stopped touching me, and for a second, I thought I had finally fixed everything. But a week later, my boss called me in for an early shift to clean the shop. Just me and him, alone. I didn't want to go, and begged my mom to let me stay home, but she said I had a responsibility and I had to go. I almost told her everything, but if I did, I was afraid she would think I was making excuses. So I walked into the shop. I tried to calm my nerves, and for the first 30 minutes, everything was okay. He didn't come close to me, and I avoided him as well, until Peter forced me to get on a ladder, saying that I had to clean the shelves. I didn't want to go up there, but I had no choice. It was my job. As soon as I stepped onto the ladder, he put his hands against me and gripped tightly. He insisted he was just making sure I didn't fall, but I could feel his hands getting closer to my thighs. I froze. I couldn't move and didn't know what to do. "Please, Peter, I don't want to stand up here anymore. Can I get down?" "No, the shelves are not going to clean themselves, so if you want to keep your job, you better keep cleaning," he answered. I was so scared, but how could I say no when he was my boss? My hands were shaking, and my eyes started watering. He wouldn't let me move. I tried to ask him again, but I couldn't get the words out. After what seemed like years, I finished cleaning and sped down the ladder. He acted like nothing happened and offered me a drink, but I just wanted to get out of there. "Come on, you don't want to be ungrateful now, do you?" he said to me. I quietly accepted, but kept my distance from him. As I went to sit down, Peter grabbed me and forced me onto his lap. "Let me go!" I screamed. He wouldn't let me move. He just put his hand around my mouth and forced his other hand into my shirt. "No, no, no, please, stop, please," I begged. He tried touching my lower half, but I managed to dig my nails down hard onto his hand. "Get off me!" I yelled. Then he pushed me off roughly and I fell to the ground. At first, it looked like he was about to hurt me, until he started laughing and walked out of the room. I didn't know how to react. I sat on the floor in horror. I could taste blood in my mouth. As soon as he was gone, I grabbed my bag and ran outside. You're okay, trying to calm myself down. I called my mom and begged her to come. "Why are you leaving work so early?" my mom asked. "Please, Mom, please just come get me." At first, she was annoyed that I was being irresponsible, but as soon as she saw me, she knew something was wrong. When I got into the car, she asked me, "What happened? Are you okay?" I couldn't say anything because I was in so much shock. I sat in the car and just stared out the window. As soon as we got home, my mom turned to me and said, "Honey, what happened?" But before she could finish, I ran into my room and locked the door, sobbing into my hands. I sat on the shower floor, trying to scrub myself clean until I started to bleed, but I could still feel his touch like it was stained on my skin, crying as the water ran down my red body. I sat there for hours until I realized that I needed to tell someone what was happening. I couldn't keep it to myself any longer. I saw my mom on the couch and for a second, I got so scared. Would she believe me? I wondered. But I knew I had to say something or else I'll never be able to forgive myself. As soon as my mom turned to look at me, I broke down. It's been about 3 months since the incident. I never went back there again. My mom asked if I wanted to press charges, but I just wanted to move on. What happened affected me deeply. I couldn't concentrate or eat, and every time someone tried to touch me, I would freak out and scream. I was fortunate when my psychology teacher noticed something was wrong and came up to me saying, "Hey, if there's anything on your mind, you know you can come talk to me." At first, I looked away. I didn't know how to even say the words, but eventually I told her what had happened. She sat with me as I cried, telling me it wasn't my fault. She called my mom and they decided that I should go to therapy. It has helped me a lot, and now when my friends touch or hug me, I don't flinch or freak out. However, whenever I see someone who looks similar to my old boss, all of the bad memories come back. My psychologist told me that these things take time to build trust again. I know with her and my family's help, I feel like I finally have a chance to be a normal kid again.